It's the November 2023 show with Barb. Barb, how the heck are you?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
Perfect. I read your article that's going to be in the Hub this month, and I found there was multiple stories in there. Folks, you got to read it. Barb's talking about a lot of big issues, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought you were kind of hitting the hammer right there on that nail on a lot of issues. And I wanted to break them down because one of the things that I think you felt and I feel sometimes is society frustration. That's one thing. The other part is the repeat of generational disorders like alcoholism and folks trying to make that commitment, and the long-term effects on their own physical and mental health. I think that's kind of in a nutshell. You had a big piece on all this, and I thought it was really good. So I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm going to throw some questions at you today because I thought this was a really interesting topic.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. There were a lot of issues sort of intertwined there. And I think that I really want people to understand that connectivity because when it comes to our health, it is multifaceted. It's not just what we're doing nutritionally and whether we're exercising and whether we're getting enough sleep. There's the mental health component, there's the spiritual health, there's the relationship, not just with ourselves, but with the world, and that generational relationship, whether it's habits we have as a family or belief systems that we have as a family. But it just was something that was really troubling me that I was trying to sort through. And I think that, I hope the article sort of conveys that a little bit of how, as individuals and as societies and as a global community, we need to start to address things on all these different levels.
People have a hard time figuring out the path they need to take. I want to start there because I think if you're struggling maybe with a little bit of depression or anxiety, but you're having physical elements, you know what I mean? It can all lead back to exercise and food and diet, all that. But
Mhm.
if you're in that cloud, you're having trouble sort of finding your way. One of the things I know that you do is like a small consult to start, because I think you need to have a starting point. And usually people are looking for somebody. I don't want it, and I don't want this to sound bad in any way, to lay their problems out on. But I think in your role, you're saying, let me help you, but you're responsible too for your health, correct?
That is 100%. A lot of people give away their power. And, even when they're successful in the changes that they do embrace, they're still hesitant to accept that, wow, I did this. Like, I made these changes. They were hard. It meant giving up things that I was comfortable with, but I made them and now I'm here. And so, yes, within a consultation, it is a safe space for people to have a bit of a sounding board, because sometimes that's what they need, is just somebody to help them sort through. They have the answers within them, just as they have that cellular ability for health and wellness, right? When we give our bodies the right tools, when we address things in the correct manner, then the body is very self-regulating and self-healing. So that is, that responsibility, ownership of things is very important. There's a lot of, I guess, expectation when there's a strong family history, for instance, of heart disease. And people will be either doing everything possible to avoid that, or they just have a defeated approach. Well, I'm going to get it anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I do. And, societal wise, it can continue beyond the individual and their problems, right? It becomes a global when we have that kind of mindset. And I think that was what I was trying to reiterate and get people to understand, is how that resonates energetically on much bigger levels than just ourselves, like the ripple effect, right?
Do you have to come to terms? I always felt I had to come to terms with my own, who I was personally first, to help me physically get healthier. I mean, I think I kind of did it a little bit backwards, a little bit, because once I started to get feeling really good physically, years and years of running, I was like, oh, then the mental picture became much clearer in what I wanted, my goals were, or how I wanted to live my life. But I think that first step, like you said earlier, is kind of critical. But I think you have to have a mindset going in. Two things. I think you got to be clear of what your goal is, and you have to want it. I
Yeah.
really do believe that you've got to, like you said, if you're in a generational heart disease, alcoholism, you got to want to get better, and you've got to
Mhm.
take that first step yourself. Like that becomes a you thing first. And then
Yeah.
once you make that commitment, I think then the goals, maybe when they're working with you, developing a proper dietary plan or anything like that, everything seems much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have somebody that's coaching you and guiding you through and encouraging you with those steps. And, as I've said to people before, it can be as simple as drinking an extra glass of water each day.
Yeah.
That mindfulness, and then suddenly your body's able to detoxify better. It's improving, so many different levels of your health just by that one step. So once you've mastered that, hey, what else can you do? But it's important to have somebody that is not only motivated to make those changes, but also is willing to just really embrace their own responsibility for why they are at where they're at.
I think society today, and this is another aspect of this I wanted to talk about, there's so much information and so many things going on. Another thing that I believe in is simplify your life.
Yeah.
By that, I think you'll agree. I think what we're looking at here is sort of saying, okay, this is my morning, this is my afternoon, this is my evening. Here's the things I want to accomplish. And don't get sucked into, here we are doing social media, but don't get sucked into it so that it's all day.
Right.
Give it 20 minutes. That's all you need to do. And then move on to the
Mhm.
next thing. And I think that's part of it, because then we lose the routine that we need, that we actually, all of us crave routine.
Yeah.
But to be consistent is another part of that routine. So just by
Mhm.
doing that and breaking it down a little bit and simplifying, getting rid of a lot of the complications in your life, make things for your health, both physically and mentally, I believe, a lot better.
Mhm. Yeah, it's minimalizing is very, very important. It's letting you focus in, right? We have a lot of distractions that come in and out of our lives in very rapid succession. And it's very, very easy for people to feel overwhelmed because it's literally just so much for them to deal with. And, so we're not saying, yeah, you have to have a whole spa day, just a you day. We're saying, what if you just carved out 5 minutes each day, or even if it's once a week, if you can't manage 5 minutes a day, then 5 minutes once a week, that's your time not to worry about anything or anybody else. If you have to go out and stand in the grass in bare feet and hug a tree and just breathe, that 1,000-fold is doing magnificent things for you because you are reconnecting, you are grounding yourself. And that's going to be better than the best multivitamin out there, all of these other things. It's just simplifying, minimalizing. What can I live with? What can I live without? What do I not need to step into because it's literally not my problem? Okay, because sometimes we are so worried about things on a level so far beyond ourselves that we want to be able to help, but we are so helpless it cripples us. And that's a really, really damaging way for ourselves to resonate, is with that feeling of defeat and depressed attitude. That vitality for life, it gets snuffed out like a candle. So we have to really embrace the things that we know we can make changes with first, and the rest is going to start to take care of itself. We can help one person in our family, one person in our community, and then that person can go forward and help another person. Can't necessarily help everybody at once, but it still has to start with caring enough about yourself and to understand what your connection is with the universe, with the planet.
I think what you said there, I like that because I do agree with you 100%. I think we do get overwhelmed, but I think the one thing you can do, and maybe it's just opening a door for a person, maybe it's helping someone across the street. It's just a little thing that you do, that impact has ripple. And
Yes.
again, that if you practice that within yourself, then you're going to see that improvement, obviously on both your mental and physical side. But I think that we forget that. I think that's part of it. We, like you said, we want to solve this big problem as an individual. We can't, but we can solve those little problems that make somebody else's life a little bit better and a little bit easier on that
Mhm.
day. And I think that's a really good, I like that. That's a really good life lesson for folks to remember that, yeah, we're, as a group, maybe we can solve some of these big problems, but as
Mhm.
individuals, we've got to find our space and help other people that we can help. I'm
Yes.
100% with you on that. 100%. I always felt that way, both Monica and I, over the years, that you can make an impact on one little individual, with a program. Then you did it. You did your work.
Oh,
You can feel good at
totally.
the end of the day, and you do that every day with people. I'm sure of that. So, I think and let's give them an we got to wrap this up, but let's give them a quick overview of your article. We don't want to give away too much, but
Mhm.
what you're trying to do is just get people to focus on themselves. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
I think to look within themselves, to look at our connectedness, um, that as an individual, our impact on others it's not something that doesn't affect other people. Um, that our overall connections within our families are that the belief system more than anything. And um, gosh, yeah, I don't want to give stuff away with it. I hope that it conveys emotionally and mentally to others what it meant to me to write it, because I think, the fall for me is a time where I am reorganizing. I think a lot of people do. You're regrouping, you're sort of starting to cocoon a little bit to, because once the spring comes again, it's everything just takes on a different spin entirely. But it's a great time of year for you to do some housekeeping within your mind, within your home, within your family. Check in with yourself, check in with your family, check in with your friends, check in with your community, and check in with what you think, feel, and believe, and how that's impacting the rest of your world.
You and Mike from Dover Apothecary. This is the Dover Apothecary podcast, obviously. But I mean, you guys do a great job, and you help so many folks, all the staff there, and what you're doing as well. How do people get a hold of you if they want to check in with you?
So definitely the best way is either text, phone call, or email. So 519-410-3544. And the email, all lowercase, is barb@healthywellandwise.ca.
Take care, Barb. Can't wait to talk to you next month.
Thanks, Dave.